Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 72 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson from Coldesi.
And this is Mark Vila with Coleman & Company. And today's a really cool episode, actually. We've got a world famous star, just well renowned,
a published author. Literally, I'm looking at my Kindle right now, and I have the book on it.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, that wasn't the book, but this is the book.
That's all right then. Well, we're talking about Profit First. Is the book that kind of inspired our guest today. And we did a podcast about 6 episodes ago-ish.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not look it up, but you guys should just make sure you go to customapparelstartups.com if this happens to be the first one you're listening to, and you will see some episodes about profit, and we did another one about time budgeting as well.
Right.
And budgeting money and time. But today, we're going to go ahead and really dive into this idea of making your business profitable. So Mark, tell us of...
this is, we've got Mike Michalowicz. Am I saying that right, Mike?
You nailed it, man.
Okay, cool. I was practicing quite a bit, honestly.
Right.
I was hoping. I listened to your podcast.
I'm still practicing and still struggle, so that was pretty good.
That's good. So the reason that Mike is here is because we actually had a recommendation from one of our Facebook group members, Shelby Craig, who does a great job in his own business printing custom T-shirts in Tennessee, and he just said that this book changed his business, and then I had to read it, so I did, and I got to say, you know, it's you share some really practical, exciting ideas.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually wrote that book originally, at least the concept was to fix my own challenges, and I became aware that I wasn't the only guy going through financial challenges, and happy that that one of your fans discovered it and shared it with you guys.
Yeah, cool. So why don't you give us the rundown, because I want to talk a little bit about my wife's an accountant, and I'm in sales and marketing, so naturally we have nothing in common. and this is one of the things we definitely don't have in common. So why don't you kind of talk to everybody about how you came up with this Profit First system and why, and then a little bit of the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, so I don't know if your wife has disdain toward the book. Quite a few accountants and bookkeepers read it though and say, "Gosh, this is so anti-accounting." But you know, I'm finding a faction and a growing faction of accountants and bookkeepers who see that this is a kind of an umbrella over traditional accounting, but it's necessary for many entrepreneurs. The reason is here's how I manage my money. My accountant would say, "Mike, never look at your bank account because that's not representative of where your business stands. What's representative of it is your income statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statements. There's these different metrics, KPIs, budgets, blah, 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 blah." And all that stuff would just fly over my head. It still does, quite frankly. I barely know how to read an income statement. I can fake my way through it, but a balance sheet or a cash flow statement, forget it. So what I would do is I would revert to what I call bank balance accounting, which means I would log into my bank account, see what money's available, and react a couple of ways. You know, if there's a lot of money, I'm like, oh, I can spend it. If there's no money, I'd say, oh, damn, and panic would ensue, and I would sell anything to anybody. Yeah. So it was a very reactionary-based cash management system, but it was my ultimate shortcut because I had to see what money I have and then trust my gut. Well, what I came to realize is that in its raw essence is a very poor cash management system. But I also realized I had do something that's more effective, but couldn't find a way to actually do it. And I think this is typical of many entrepreneurs, that we are really good at being promoters for our business, maybe really good at operating our business. But when it comes to the numbers, we think we're really bad. And so we revert to this ultimate shortcut. And I think to change our behavior, even though we know there's a different behavior that may serve us better, is really hard. So I developed a system so that I don't need to change anything. In fact, I continue to do today exactly what I've always done. I log into my bank account daily. I already did this morning. But by using the profit first system, I start channeling my natural behavior to bring the results I want. That's the key. Don't try to change yourself. Change the system that can channel your existing behavior to get the results you want. And the essence of profit first is this. Historically, most businesses, and I suspect most of your fans listening right now, have one, maybe two bank accounts, but they inevitably have one primary checking account where all their deposits go in and all the bills get paid out of it.
Yeah.
The problem that happens is when we're looking at that account, when money comes in, we say, wow, we got a lot of money and we can spend it. And when there's no money there, it invokes this panic. The reason is that one account acts as what I call a serving tray. Kind of like when you have a family dinner or whatever, and you serve a meal on a serving tray, you don't tell your family, hey, everyone, grab your knife and fork, everyone for themselves. No, what you do is you actually apportion some of the food to everyone's plate to make sure that everyone at the table has something to eat. The serving tray actually is simply just a display and serving platform, but you never eat off of it. That's the foundational essence of Profit First, is that we're going to set up bank accounts at your bank. One account is going to be a serving tray where money comes in, but you never pay a bill from there ever again. And then we're going to portion pieces of that money to different accounts that serve different purposes. One of them serves profit. Another one makes sure that the owner or owners are being paid, that our tax liabilities are addressed, that our operating expenses are addressed. And what we do is we divide the money up, we apportion it to these different plates, if you will, and then you know prior to utilizing your money what the intended purpose is. You see how much money has been allocated to profit. You see how much money has been allocated to pay you, how much money is truly available to run your business. And the final part I want to share is the reason I call the book Profit First is one of the foundational, I believe, flaws in accounting is that we're told profit comes last. And it's a logical argument. I mean, it makes sense logically, mathematically. You have to have income, sales. You have to subtract the expenses you incur, and then what's left over is profit. But the problem is, from a behavioral standpoint, when something is a leftover, when something comes last, behaviorally means it's insignificant. Like if you got rushed to the hospital and they said you got to change your diet, you got to start exercising and do things, otherwise you're going to die. You don't come out of the hospital saying, you know what, finally I'm going to put my health last. No, you say I'm going to put my health first. It's human nature. What comes first gets addressed. What comes last gets delayed or even ignored. And we've been trained that profit comes last. We call it the bottom line. We call it the year end, which means they can wait till later. And so the fundamental shift in the psychology around profit is there's a new formula that I argue is sales minus profit equals expenses. And every time there's a transaction, we take our profit first, allocate that profit account, and then run the business off the remainder. And while mathematically we're just swapping variables, so effectively it's the same, from a behavioral standpoint, now profit is the priority, and we force it to happen, therefore assuring permanent profitability in our business.
So there's a couple things that I love about what you just said as it relates to our customers. Mm-hmm. And Mark was just talking, Mark Vila was just mentioning before we got started today, giving like an example of the way our listeners are typically managing their supply budgets and things like that now.
Yeah, and when we in our e-commerce store, in our ColemanandCompany.com, where you go and you purchase all your supplies for your DTG printer and digital heat effects and embroidery machine and all that stuff. So what typically happens, what we see with our customers when we look at it as a whole, is that so many small business owners, and it doesn't matter how much money they're making in your business, but it's a matter of like small, meaning that the person who is doing the sales is probably helping with some production. Yeah. It's a husband and a wife team. It's a 1 to 3 person business. Yeah, it's a family. Yep. So what happens is you and your family start this business together, or you and a really good friend start this business together, and then you run your business the same way that you like and mixed within your household budget.
Right. So
we have customers that are, they use their personal credit card and they also have their business. They have 2 credit cards on file.
Yeah.
But one of them goes to their house as the billing address, and the other one goes to the business, meaning that they're not managing the money, the profit, the payroll, the utilities, the supplies, the taxes, all that stuff well enough.
They're not thinking about it until it's time to, until you've got a big order or something like that, and it's time to buy blank shirts or it's time to buy ink. And then they're looking at their money going, oh, crap. Yeah. You know, I need to use these 3 credit cards in order to get this next deal out.
Yeah, and then your personal debt goes up while you're, and it's not properly represented, and then you go ahead. So what you do is after you sell, you have to that order completes, right? And you get your final check from your customer. You end up paying your car payment or your, so there's this big mix. And then in the end, just like Mike mentioned, they're looking for this, how much profit did I make? And actually then it disappears because there is no profit at that point in time.
Right.
What your business is like, it's survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not looking at it like profits and business.
And I read your story, Mike. I know that you went through something like that a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully have eradicated that from my life. But I think that is a very normal, meaning typical and common entrepreneurial phenomena. I actually call it entrepreneurial poverty. And what entrepreneurial poverty is this outward perception of the world around us that thinks we're wildly successful. I suspect that the day you start your T-shirt printing business, all your friends are like, holy cow, you're an entrepreneur. You must be making so much money. They hear about the top line sales. You get an order for $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is. And they're like, wow, you're making $10,000. When the reality is we're spending $12,000 to support that $10,000 sale. And so internally, we are struggling. We're surviving check by check. There's this massive swings and volatility of inbound cash and outbound cash. And yet we feel we have to perpetuate this persona of success. So there's this, what I call entrepreneurial poverty. We look wildly successful while inside the stress is unbelievable. And so the resolution goes back to this system I was talking about with Profit First, which, by the way, isn't a new system. I think it's a new application of an existing system. Okay. It's the envelope system. I don't know. Yeah. Are you guys familiar with that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so my mom actually brought that to my house when I was a child and raised my sister and I, our family, on the envelope system. And specifically what she did was, like, she worked at a local factory, and she would cash in her check. She worked part-time. Volatile income, by the way. When you work part-time, sometimes you work overtime or you're sick and you get less money. She would then cash in her check and divide it up into different envelopes, the food envelope, the mortgage envelope, the community, to give back to the community envelope, and so forth. And when she went food shopping, what she'd do is she'd grab the food envelope, drive to the food store, and then open the envelope when she arrived, and that was her budget. So what we have to realize is that even with volatile income, when we have to spend money, we still have to work within the confines of the envelope, which kind of forces innovation and so forth. But I also realize there's certain fixed costs. I mean, a T-shirt's a T-shirt, and you can't say, if a customer orders 100 T-shirts, hey, we're going to deliver 25. Are you good with that? You got to deliver 100 T-shirts. So what we need, that's a fixed variable cost, meaning it's a necessary cost. It varies based upon the demand of the customer. We need to allocate that too. So what I shared when I kind of given that super fast outline of Profit First was what I call the foundational 5 accounts: operating expenses and profit and owner's pay and tax and the income account. But for certain businesses, you need additional accounts. And particularly in this business where you have raw materials, the T-shirts, for example, that you need to buy, we need to set up an account for that. And we can call it raw materials, inventory purchase. So what happens is when money comes in, say a $10,000 order comes in, and say the raw materials cost, the cost for the T-shirts is maybe going to be $5,000. We allocate that percentage immediately. So $5,000 goes to that account. Then the remaining $5,000 is truly what your business is making. Because if you visualize this, you took $10,000 from the customer, but you didn't really take it for your business. You took half that money to give to the T-shirt vendor, the person who makes the T-shirts. The customer, in theory, could have just given that money directly to the T-shirt company, but you're just managing the transfer of money. So you transferred $5,000 to the T-shirt manufacturer so you can get your supplies.
Yeah.
Then the $5,000, that's what you're truly being paid to run your business, to put the logos and the content on the T-shirts. So we got to actually run the profit system, the Profit First system, off that remaining $5,000. That's what we allocate out. that's how you kind of replenish the accounts to make these purchases and so forth. The problem is when you don't have a system like this, people see $10,000 come in, they say, oh, I earned $10,000. How should I spend it? I'll do this, I'll do this. And it's in a haphazard approach. The goal is, in this envelope system, always divide the money up before you do anything else. Always allocate the money to the different accounts. Then those accounts will give you clarity on the intended use of those funds. One last trick is when you divide money up, and say there's not enough money to pay your bills, you divide this money up and you look at your operating expenses. You've taken your profit, you've paid yourself, and you look at your operating expenses, and you say, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. That is your business giving you direct feedback that you actually have inefficiencies or you're improperly running your business. Because we're reverse engineering profit. When you take your profit first and you're compensating yourself first, the remainder is what you have to run your business off of. And if you can't run your business off it, it's not that you should cut your profit. It means that you're not running a business that can support that profit currently. We got to fix your business.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because, I mean, I've had at least one business like that where back in the days where credit card companies would send you blank checks in the mail that you could write. That's how I ran one of my businesses. And it's great to have those next big sales coming in and you still have money in the bank account. And that all looks really rosy right up until the time you have to close.
Right.
You know, because eventually, you know, as all this cash comes in, you know, the bank account looks good for a very brief period of time and then you start writing those checks. But, you know, if you go in for a loan or if you're talking to, you know, a different kind of accounting professional, you know, they're going to look at things like, well, what's your average bank balance? Right? So, and the average bank balance is going to look great because you're churning money in there, you know, all day and all night, you know, when you're actually not making any money at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I see it like you know, just what you're mentioning there and what Mike just mentioned is, you know, as an order comes in, you're going to have to do something about paying taxes, maybe sales tax and eventually business tax, you know, on that. So a piece of that needs to go there. You're going to have to order T-shirts and ink and embroidery thread. So a portion of it has to go there, and then you know, profit first. Most importantly, a portion of it has to go. This is how much money the business is profiting, is making. This way, I know I'm successful. And if you do all of that math, and you, for some reason, you can't find any percent to put into the profit area, then you're playing a really risky game with your business. You're waiting for you're going to strike. You're probably going to get stuck. You're never going to grow. You know, you're one disaster away from out of business.
If you're lucky in that situation, you'll have to close quickly before you get hypertension.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I'd like you to kind of differentiate for us, Mike, because I want to make sure that the listeners understand is the difference between profit and owner compensation.
Oh, yeah. Great question. So profit is a reward to the shareholders, the risk takers in the business. These are people who've made an investment in the business. Sometimes it's cash, right? Buying machinery, equipment. Other times it's sweat equity, just raw effort. And usually it's a combination. And if you look at like a publicly traded company, I own stock in Ford. This is not a stock tip by any stretch of the imagination, but I own Ford. And Ford does a quarterly stock distribution or profit distribution. And what they're doing is rewarding the shareholders. I don't work for Ford. I don't do anything with Ford except I've invested in their stock. And Ford distributes the profit because they're rewarding the shareholders, the ultimate risk takers. Now, here's what's also interesting. When I get my distribution check, which is usually, you know, like $13 or something, but I don't look at the money and say, oh my gosh, you know, Ford could really do better if they had all the profits reinvested in the company. I'm going to return this money to Ford. And actually, if all the shareholders would do it, they could buy new buildings. They could do amazing things. Hey, rah, rah, guys, let's give our money back. No, what I do as a shareholder, I say, I took on risk here. The value of the stock could go up, hopefully, or recently it's been going down. So I've taken on risk. This is a reward for me for being a risk taker. We as small business owners have taken the ultimate risk. It's the inception of a business. When that profit comes out, this is a reward for doing what 97% of the world population will never do, which is start a business.
Yeah.
And it is never to be reinvested, plowed back, pushed back. Those are all soft terms for saying there is no profit. This is an expense. This is a reward for taking on massive risk. That's what profit is. Owner's comp is what's called the owner-operator pay. As an owner of a small business, inevitably, or in most cases, you're also working in the business. You are an employee of the business. And this is the reward for the most important employee you have. You may have some other people that work for you, but I suspect as the owner, no one works as hard as you. No one's as devoted to the business as you. No one knows as well as you. No one else is making the sacrifices like you do, sacrificing time with family and friends and all the things you do to make this business run. That is the definition of the world's greatest employee.
Yeah.
The owner's comp is the compensation for being a great, phenomenal employee. We have to secure that. Profit is a reward for being a shareholder. So these are two different things. Yeah. Our owner's compensation, by the way, is what should support our lifestyle. Just like our employees, if they're taking a salary from us, that supports their lifestyle. Our owner's comp should support our lifestyle. The profit is a bonus above and beyond. And just like a public company comes out every quarter, and when that profit comes out, go celebrate with it. Again, the rule is never put it back in the business. If the business can't run off of what's been allocated to its operating expenses, there's something that needs to be improved in the business. And inevitably, it's cutting unnecessary costs, and there's usually 10, even 20% in most businesses that I've analyzed. And usually, and this is the biggest one that people miss, massive margin opportunities. How do you grow your margins? There's a huge upside there, and we need to pursue that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that what you said is really important, because a lot of the people that go into the custom apparel business, their mindset is really, they want to fire their boss and they want to work for themselves. Right. So really they're trying to replace their salary that they used to make, or the money that they used to make, only they're not getting any of the side benefits. Nobody's helping pay their insurance. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nobody's filling up the water cooler or paying for the air conditioning. So really you're kind of like, we did a book review on the E-Myth some time ago. Oh, you're really just becoming that propreneur who spends all of their time working in their job just to get a paycheck. Profit is the point of being in business. It's the extra money after all of your expenses are paid, after you make your salary. The profit is, you're right, your reward for starting a business. It's not the job you do. It's not getting paid for the job you do inside the business.
So I what I feel is it's not $1 million question. I think it's like $1,000 question.
Okay, good.
Okay, and the reason why it's $1,000 question is because when you start, if you are you are a brand new entrepreneur, this is how you're doing it. You have a full-time or part-time job you're working. You finance a piece of equipment that's a few $100 a month, and your bank account's not huge. Yeah. You've got $5,000 or less in your bank account. What you were trying to do is you were trying to achieve the American dream, per se, right?
Yeah.
So you purchase a piece of equipment which allows you to produce something that you can create. You can sell something with a high margin because you're doing the labor, and then you can build that and build that and build that, and eventually you get to the point where you can fire your boss because the business can support you.
Yeah.
So at what point in time do you start to pay yourself? At what point in time do you start to put profit in? If I just got a piece of equipment and my first order was 9 shirts, and that it made, that in the end, my quote unquote profit, right. I just meaning the very simple word version of the word profit, the cost of my goods minus what they paid for it, right? The shirts cost me $20 and I charged $100. I made $80, the simple profit. So when do you start? And then if it's right, and then if the answer is right away, how do I even do that when my orders are $300?
I think you've already sold yourself short. That's at least a $1,200 question.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So the best time to start was yesterday, and if you missed that, then it is now. The key though is to start slowly. This is like the same question is, when should I start exercising? The answer is today, of course, right? But most of us like to delay it, and say, well, if I wait long enough, then I'll be ready. And you know probably how that goes. Like you don't exercise, you actually build a propensity to not exercising. So, but the key though, for example, with exercise is when you do start, the error that many people make is they go in full bore. They're like, oh, I gotta really crank this up, and they injure themselves or it's too painful. It's actually starting slowly and building a muscle that helps. So with Profit First, the goal is to start immediately, but to start slowly. Just allocate 1% of your income toward profit. So that order comes in, 1% goes to profit, and the 99% can still go toward just running your business like you have in the past, or just paying off all your debt. And I realize you may have, in the beginning, more debt than you do income, but it's still important to start that profit muscle, because when you see that account start filling up, you start looking at your business from a new perspective. You start saying, oh, what can I do to sustain this profit? You start reverse engineering profit. So short answer, start immediately. We need that muscle in place. And the longer you delay, and we have now literally we have over 75,000 companies doing Profit First. We have 2,000 documented case studies, and we've seen every flavor now, I think, of this. And the people who wait and put it off rarely ever get started, almost never. The people who start abruptly and try to do the whole system from day one have the highest failure rate. It's too intense. The people who start the system but start slowly and persistently grow it over time have the greatest success rate.
Gotcha.
So maybe, and correct me if I might be wrong on this, but this is how I might envision our customer doing it, right? Okay. You just bought a piece of equipment. You've made an investment. You're starting your business. You get your first order, and it's not big. Right. It's $400. Yeah. Right. It's $200. I mean, whatever it is, it's your first order. So you have a few accounts. You take 1% of it. Like you said, you're starting slowly. Yep. Your first one's like, I'm just going to take 1% of this order. I'm going to take $10 and put it into this bank account. Yeah. Now I have to pay myself. How I can't pay myself a salary because my salary is more than $300. Right. So maybe you start with like an hourly rate. So you say, well, to start my business, I'm going to start slow. I'm going to pay myself $20 an hour. Yeah. I'm making a choice and a number. So, and it took me 4 hours to do this. So I'm going to pay myself $100, and I put that into my pay account. And then I know I'm going to have to pay the government 6%. So I just take 6% of it and put here. And then I know the shirts are going to cost me 20%, so and then I throw that there. Operating expenses, right? And then that's kind of it.
Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it, right? Okay. And you start having realizations as you go through this process, saying, "Oh my gosh, the T-shirts I'm buying are too expensive for what I'm charging." So there's only two fixes to that: buy cheaper T-shirts, or probably the better one is price higher. And now, of course, you say, if I price higher, my competition, they're going to price cheaper than me, which, by the way, is a very bad conversation to have in your head, because now you're positioning yourself as a commodity, thinking the competition's the same. The better conversation is, how do I dictate a higher price point where the customer's thrilled to pay that higher price point?
I think we have 57 podcasts on that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right. So, listen to those 57 podcasts. But what happens is our business starts forcing these questions. In the old scenario, every dollar that came in, we use going out the door. Like, we use everything, and then we sacrifice ourselves because at least we can, at least the customer won't complain because I'm sacrificing myself. But there will be a day where you resent your business because, like, it's just sucking my soul and my cash. So what Profit First does is it forces hard internal conversations immediately in your business, so you run your business more effectively. Those conversations are going to happen anyway. If you don't do the Profit First system, it's going to happen anyway. That's the day you face bankruptcy, or you're in that moment where, if I don't get this sale today, I don't know how I'm going to cover payroll moment. And that happens for every business if you don't start doing the system. So that conversation's coming. What we're going to do is force that conversation early so you can position your business to be healthy.
And I think that's so important, because I'm a low quality QuickBooks user. And I've done my own books inside QuickBooks, and I've worked with my wife, the accountant, to do my books inside of QuickBooks. And as a sales and marketing guy, completely with no other talents whatsoever, I know that I bought this for X dollars and I sold it for Y dollars, so I know that I made this amount of money.
Yeah.
100% I know that. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm looking in QuickBooks and I look at the end of the month and it's one thing or another. It's either that I know I made just a crap load of money because I bought 1,000 shirts for $10 and I sold 1,000 shirts for $25. I know I made a lot of money. But I'm looking at my one bank account and I can't find any of it.
Yeah.
So I think like that's it. The idea of, you know, I've got one account, I've got the dinner tray, I've got one account that all the money goes into, and then it immediately goes out to all those other accounts. At least the 5 total accounts to start with, correct?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, the funny thing is, just going back to QuickBooks, a lot of people say, you know, do I really need to do this with my bank? It seems it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of reconciliations, moving money around, and plus my bank will charge me fees. Why don't I just do this in my accounting system or on a spreadsheet? And that, when I hear people say that and believe that, it's a fatal flaw. It's the final nail in the coffin, because your accounting system actually already is doing this. Your accounting system has what's called a chart of accounts, and a chart of accounts maintains all the different allocations of money, profit, how much you've paid yourself, all that stuff is already there. So I just ask people, I say, listen, your accounting system actually already has all this accounted for. How's it serving you? And they say, well, I'm not profitable. I'm like, exactly. What we need to do, again, is intercept our natural behavior. If our natural behavior is to log into our bank and check out what our money situation is, then we need a system that is at our bank and allocates the money. And again, kind of reiterating a point here, but when money is pre-allocated to its purpose, you know its intended use. The sequence of how we do this actually is important. So if you have that order for T-shirts come in, the first thing to actually do is allocate the money toward profit, not toward operating expenses, even though it's a percentage-based system. So the slices of the pie always work the same. There's a behavioral reason behind this. When we allocate money, transfer money to a profit account first, you'll feel a natural like reward mechanism. You're like, oh, hey, I just took a profit. That's cool. Then the second thing you do is you do owner's compensation. That's paying you. You're like, hey, that's cool. The third thing you do is pay taxes. You're like, hey, that kind of sucks. I hate paying taxes, but at least I'm adhering to the law and I'm not going to go to jail. So at least there's a protection mechanism. And then the final allocation is toward the operating expenses, the expenses of the business. And that's an awareness point. I was saying at that point, when you can't pay your bills, and it may happen, when you can't pay your bills, that's your business telling you you're not in the position to currently afford those bills. We need to fix something. Again, cut costs, but you can only do that so far before you cut into the muscle of the business. So cut unnecessary costs, but really look for ways to expand the value you're delivering and therefore dictate a premium.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's so many podcasts that we have about all the things you can do to really help fix some of that final problem that you mentioned, where it's basically you're not making enough money to do everything you just said.
Yeah.
And it's about you know, selling better T-shirts, selling to the right people, selling to the niche markets. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're kind of like, yeah, I like this, but the problem is you know, there's too much competition, or or my T-shirts are too expensive now, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
None of that's true.
You know, if you're running into that, then you need to just, like you mentioned, fix something.
Yeah.
And fixing it, and what everyone immediately tries to do is like they want to go and they're like, well, how can I save $4 on a roll of vinyl? Right. How can I save, you know, like a few bucks on some thread? And it's like what you're doing is your business is bleeding, and you're attempting to fix a big wound with a bunch of tiny Band-Aids that aren't going to do anything.
Right.
So for one, it's like you have to do the first thing, which is, you know, if you get injured and you go to the hospital and you get the treatment, and I think like the treatment might be this profit first.
Right.
You know, like you first make sure that your business is doing, your body's in health, your business is in health.
Right.
And then turn around and actually start doing things to make more money and make better money, meaning that like you're not trying to shave 20 cents off the cost of a T-shirt, because that really doesn't matter unless, I mean, if you're doing tens of thousands of shirts, it's a lot of money.
I think the podcasts that we most talk about is a trilogy we did on how to make more money next month.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot of strategies in those that you can use to try to bring up that top line. Just being careful that that's not the point of your business isn't driving up the top line. The other side of that is like Mike has said a couple of times so far is that, you can't judge the success of your business on the revenues.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's the bane to most people. There's a saying that revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And it's so true. It's unbelievable how many people are persuaded, including myself. I used to be persuaded by the size of the business. I'd hear a business does $1 million in revenue. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I now consider revenue a stress point. Like I have $1 million of responsibility if I'm doing $1 million in revenue to other clients. I have to deliver $1 million of promises. That's stress. Profit is the stress release program or pill. The more profit I have, it brings that balance about. And I am far more impressed by a company that does, say, $100,000 in revenue and is taking home $50,000 in profit, as opposed to a company that does $1 million in revenue and is taking $50,000 in profit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because the other thing I want to share too is, I buy T-shirts and different embroidered goods. And one thing my own guy did, which I thought was so impressive, and I paid a premium for it and was glad to do it. I was buying T-shirts for our internal staff, and he asked a question that no one in the past asked. He goes, what's the reason you're doing this? I explained, well, we want to have an employee loyalty program. We really want to retain our employees. And he said, I got an idea as he was digging in. He said, let's do your shirts, but let's embroider something internally on the shirt that touches their heart. Because that actually came out of the theme we were talking about. The motto of our business is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. He goes, let's embroider that also on the inside of the shirt, something that will touch their heart at all times, and it's known to them. And I was like, that's a genius idea, because he wasn't now making a commodity shirt. He was serving the intended purpose of retaining employees. My employees were thrilled. They never saw anything like this. I was thrilled because it served my purpose, and he was thrilled because he charged a premium for doing something that no one else even proposed to me. So I think there's an opportunity, and I know you discussed this in your episode.
Message me that guy's information, because if he is a CAS podcast listener, I'm going to throw a party here at work. I really am.
Yeah, his name's Tom O'Dowd. I'll give him a heads up.
Yeah, and what's so great about it is because these are things that we talk about, where we say, ask your, what do they want? Like, what's the purpose of why are you buying these shirts?
Yeah.
What are they for? Why do you want them cheaper? Well, why do you think that having a cheaper shirt is better? What's actually going on? Is it for your business? Well, it's for your business. It's for your outdoor working, and employees, your landscapers.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the cheapest T-shirt is not the solution.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing. You're throwing money away.
Right. What's interesting is I believe we need to sort, when it comes to profitability, sort our clients, and you guys already alluded to this, is that not all clients are built the same. And I think there's two typical categories. There is what's called commodity shoppers, where they see the item they need as a necessity, but readily available anywhere, and all options are basically the same. That's the commodity shopper. And by the way, that does represent the majority of customers in any market. They're just looking for the cheapest, easiest, most convenient solution. The minority, but the best customers, are ones who see this service as life-saving. And what I mean by that is the analogy I like to use is doctors. A general practitioner is basically a commodity. If my general practitioner says, you know what, I'm moving my offices 50 miles down the road, or I'm moving to a different state, would you still be my patient? I'd be like, no, you just check me for when I have the sniffles or a skin rash. I'll go to a local. But then there's lifesavers like a heart surgeon. And if I have heart disease, I want the world's best heart surgeon, and I don't care if I have to traverse the entire globe to get to the best heart surgeon for my life-saving needs. Yeah. Well, customers see us in one of those two categories: a convenient, guy that's just addressing a rash, or they see this decision as life-saving or life important to their business. There's consumers, I happen to be one of them, that sees shirts and the uniform for my employees and for my members of my organization as life-serving. Like it's critical to represent ourselves in a certain professional format. And therefore, I'm willing to pay a premium, and I'm willing to, navigate the globe, if you will, to find the right solution, the right provider. And I think we as vendors need to categorize our customers. What customers that we have right now are the commodity shoppers, and which ones are the ones that see the true additional value add that we have? Those customers are the biggest opportunity for more profitability and for more growth. Yeah. Uber cater to the ones who see the value in you, and the ones who don't see value in you, quite frankly, they're secondary customers. If they're looking for price and you go up a little bit, they're going to move on. Well, that's a commodity shopper. Let's focus on the value-based customers.
Yeah, and you know what? Those people they'll get automatically filled out if you start putting your revenues, that percentage of your revenues, into the profit account first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. They automatically get sorted out.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Great.
All
great.
Right.
Well, Mike, if you have anything else, I don't think those are great closing words.
Yeah.
If you have anything else to add before we go today, I think this is a great opportunity for our listeners here to do something that's really different.
Yeah, and before you mention it, I just want to say, I've got up on my screen profitfirstbook.com. Would that be the best place for our listeners to start interacting with you, Mike, and getting in on the Profit First system?
Yeah, so that's not necessarily the best place. ProfitFirstBook.com is the advertisement, if you will, for the book. If you want to discover the book, definitely go there. The best place to go is MikeMichalowicz.com. But here's the trick. Go to MikeMotorbike.com. That's the shortcut, because I can't spell Mike Michalowicz half the time. So Mike Motorbike, try that out. That was my nickname in high school, by the way. Mike and then Motorbike. And that will automatically forward you on to my website.
I love that.
Or you can go to Mike Motorbike.
MikeMotorbike.com.
Motorbike. Yeah. And what happens once you get there, it's 1-0. Once you get to MikeMotorbike.com, it's 1-0. It's MOTOR. Delete one of those O's. There you go. There you go. It will actually forward you on to my website. You can pass by that welcome mat by clicking on that little link below it. But this is my personal website. Here's what I think may be interesting. First of all my books, you can get all the free chapter downloads for my books. It's either 2 to 5 chapters. I mean, you can really dig into these books without even making a purchase at Amazon or wherever you buy your books. But the other thing is, I used to write for the Wall Street Journal for many years, and my best articles are in the Wall Street Journal archive. So if you're a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal, you can get the articles that way. Or on my website, when you sign up, you get all my articles for free. And they're some of the best articles I believe I've ever written. Many of them inspired some of the books I've written. So that's MikeMichalowicz.com, or the shortcut is MikeMotorbike.com.
I haven't done that yet. I'm definitely going to do that. And I got to tell you, I'm scrolling over these books. I'm ready to buy the calendar. When you print it up, I'm in.
That's so funny. So, one thing I asked, I'm really into studying kind of human behavior. It's kind of like a little hobby. And I was interviewing a guy named Roger Dooley, who is a behavioral psychologist in marketing. And he told me this little thing. He goes, the more variety pictures, the larger the variety of pictures that people see of you, the more engaged they get. Yet most websites with an author will be one static picture. So I was like, oh, I want people to be highly engaged. He's like, you got to have a big variety of pictures. So that's why as you move around, and you'll find some kind of golden goose eggs or some jokes there too that you'll find as you navigate other parts of that page. Do you guys want the bonus tip, like what you can do now?
Yeah, please do.
All right, here it is. I think your listeners, I think this will have a massive impact. It takes less than 30 minutes, and it will be a game changer in profitability. It's real simple. Start slow, and here's how you do it. Call your bank today. I mean, you've heard this podcast. Do not hesitate. You get rewarded for action, not for idleness. Call your bank and set up one account, call Profit, make it a savings account, and allocate 1% of any deposits that come in into the Profit account. Because we're talking, if you have a $400 order, I'm not saying take a bunch of money. I'm taking take 1%, which is $4. Put that in the Profit account. And because if you can run your business off of $400, you can run your business off of $396. The impact to running your business is inconsequential, but the impact to moving profit in your business and start building it is massive. Because what will happen is every time you log in, you start seeing this small, albeit consistently growing profit account. And then I believe it's only a matter of time before you change that 1% to 2 or 3 or 5. And over time, you start building that profit muscle. This is the equivalent of getting the gym membership and just going there for some stretching exercises. That's how you start. And over time, you'll be bench pressing 300 pounds or whatever your goal is. Yeah. But with your profit account, if you start slow, it's just a matter of time. Maybe it's months, maybe it's years, but you'll be extraordinarily profitable if you start today.
Yeah, and I'm really happy you said that, because every episode I always like to leave somebody with what I will say, like, some homework to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, take an action on something right now in this. Go and do this right now. And that's the perfect one. I love it, because you don't even have to have read the book or listen to any of your or anything yet.
Yeah.
One of the first things you could do is log on to your bank or call them. Because you could do, and probably logging on to your bank account and creating another new savings account probably will take you 12 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And then boom, you're done. And then the next time an order comes in, you throw 1% in there, and you've already taken action.
Boom.
You've taken the first step, and then the second thing you do is you probably look at a bunch of other stuff from Mike and see what else you can learn.
Going in the show notes. You made the show notes.
Yeah, nicely done. Thanks for the plug there. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate that. This has been Mike Michalowicz from Profit First, and MikeMichalowicz.com, or, because I can't spell it,
MikeMotorbike.com.
That's right.
Mike Motorbike. Bike, motorbike.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister, I guess. Yeah.
I know. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. This has been Mark Stevenson from Coldesi.
And Mark Viola from Coleman & Company.
You guys have a great business.